this out and tried it with Zoom?
Well, I did it yesterday.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
Yesterday was more of the learning curve.
Good. Glad we got day two.
Yeah. Yesterday, all the tech hiccups got
cool. Now I see.
resolved.
It says live on YouTube now. Webinar
Yeah,
streaming
so
live. And then you can just grab that from YouTube and embed it. Is that what you're doing?
bingo.
Nice.
So now that it's there, it's got a URL, and now I just go in here and update the page.
Great. So
I can hear you typing one finger at a time. I love it.
Jonathan, how long have you been in the Philippines for?
4 years. I came here a few years ago for a week to visit one of my buddies. And then I was working on a project with him. His partner made me go on a blind date. I tried to leave early. He was like, look, dude, we won't pay you if you leave. So I married her. Worst date of my life.
That's awesome.
Absolute worst date. And now we got 2 kids. Going to make a third one next month. Doing what I do.
That's amazing. Congrats.
Bigger house. Yeah. I mean, if you could see out my window, I'm basically like 50 yards from the surf. So I just walk outside and surf pretty much every day. Living that author dream.
I would love to see you live on the panel with the surf in the background.
I don't know how to do it from a phone. Otherwise I would do this from my phone, but
you probably could.
Basically I'm sure you could, but I'd be too far from the Wi-Fi as well. The Wi-Fi is right above my roof. I got a tower. So the further I walk away, the more it starts turning into like squares of Max Headroom.
All right, so we are live and streaming and visible on the page. And, while we're doing this, Simon, you're probably the guy to do this. When you hear any like choice words or tips or strategies, if you keep this page open and just sort of drop them into the chat thread too. Anybody's welcome to do that. But somebody did that yesterday, and it helped to like capture the main takeaways and so forth.
Do you know how to do that? Because I definitely don't.
Right in the Zoom chat. Right?
Simon.
right in the Zoom chat.
You made a great choice.
Yeah.
Well, actually, to clarify, are you talking, Jesse, about in the Zoom chat, or are you talking about that link and then going to that page and putting it there?
Yeah, there's a link to /speaker/panel. And on that page, there's a chat wing embedded. So just mute the video on your end, and then you can leave that window open. There's like a slight delay while we're talking, but you can use the chat box there to update stuff and so on.
Okay, good.
And then we have someone else joining, or no?
We should have 2 more people joining, and one of them is Tom Morcus.
Oh, right, Tom. Okay.
And we'll see if they make it.
Yeah, these live events. It's always a curveball.
I know. Well, let's warm up. We're warming up in the bullpen here.
Got 4 minutes. You should text him. Can't you throw Tom a text? Hey, where are you, buddy? And my superstar.
Yeah, I just Skyped, Voxered, emailed, and text. If he's coming, he'll see it.
All right. I think I got it set up.
There you go. I see you there.
Jesse, got that email from you, that person who like complimented on the recorded interview that we had. That was cool.
Oh yeah, a lot of engagement. I'm gonna try and get some stats soon, but man, overall, well, I'll save those thoughts.
Wait till Friday, then you're gonna see some real stats.
Oh yeah, Jonathan was a Summit favorite last year.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. What was the secret, Jonathan? What'd you do?
He gave away a $200 training course.
I'll do it.
Hey, man,
what else would you do, Jonathan? We were both impressed with.
I just give away, I guess I figured out some stuff because I'm self-taught that other people didn't know how to do. I talked about how to get a really high conversion rate for opt-ins. I think I talked about a couple other things other people weren't doing yet. Just like this year, it's all new stuff that no one else is doing yet, really cutting edge. So it's cool. I think that's it. I just give away secrets that normally you wouldn't do. Just give away some, because you know what? Most people won't implement, so it's okay. It's not like 8,000 people are going to go immediately actually do what I'm teaching because it's kind of complicated.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm excited to learn from you on this.
Yeah, on this and we did a one-on-one interview too, which I think goes live on Friday, but I'll hook you guys up with an all access pass if you don't already have one, so you can.
Ooh,
I already bought it.
upgrades, nice.
Check it
I
out.
already bought it. We gotta support you. So I already got that.
Oh man, I wish you bought through my link.
I just looked at some stats, and there was over 8,000 page views yesterday alone across the site. That tells me people are watching the videos.
Or you're under a DDoS attack.
Site's still up, so.
Well, ransomware.
Yeah.
No ransomware.
No one's asking for Bitcoins.
You cannot leave the summit until you buy an all access pass.
Oh man, good old fake news.
All right. T-minus 90 seconds. I see some people jumping in the chat. We'll start it right at the top of the hour. With or without Tom and Jennifer. Cool. All right, 1 second. Oh, good.
What up? What up? Are we live?
Jennifer and Tom.
Hi.
Hey, how are you? Your camera is sideways.
Oh, hang on a second.
Tom, how you doing? Can you hear?
I'm doing great. I can hear you loud and clear. Am I coming in okay?
Yeah, there you are, Jennifer.
Is that better?
Yes. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing good. Wow, we all made it here just in time. This is awesome. All right, well, here we are. It's 3 o'clock, so let's kick things off. Hello, everybody. Welcome to day 2's live panel. This is all about book launch strategies. Today is all about book marketing, and this panel is all about how you can sell more books, which, as it turns out, is the #1 question most authors want to know about. So let me introduce the panelists here, and then we are going to jump in and have a roundtable conversation on book launch strategies. So I'm going to switch the view so that you can see everybody. And let me do that and go ahead and introduce everybody. So from my top left, we've got Jonathan Green, all the way from the Philippines, Summit favorite from last year. Also has an interview this year that goes live on Friday, author of a couple dozen books, and has some amazing author training, a lot of book marketing strategies we're going to cover. Jonathan, how you doing?
I'm doing good. So happy to be here. Thank you for waking me up so early. Perfect day.
Yeah, what is it, like 5 in the morning over there?
It's 6 in the morning. No daylight savings today.
Nice, welcome. And then we've got Simon and Jesse. So Simon and Jesse are the co-founders of Launch Team. There they are waving. And we've partnered up with Launch Team at Lifestyle Entrepreneurs Press to launch the last 5 or 6 books that we've put out, many of which you can see behind me here: Real Passion Revolution, The Phoenix Projects, The Writer's Block Myth, A Beautiful Evolution, Drug of Choice, and more. Simon and Jesse, how you doing?
Good, man. Happy to be here. Thanks for having us on.
My pleasure. And we've got Tom Morkis, the man, the myth, the legend. How you doing, Tom?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Jesse?
Good. Tom runs Insurgent Publishing. He's also the promotional partners manager for this summit. So he is responsible for the 50 plus people that have been sharing this summit with their audiences, which may be some of the ways that you found your way here to Bestseller Summit Online. Tom is also powerhouse in his own right as an author and a book marketing expert. So excited to have you join. And last, but certainly not least, we've got Jennifer Blanchard. And Jennifer is the author of From to Awesome, as well as I think other books as well. And we're just getting to know each other. So I'm excited to have you on this panel. Jennifer, how are you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk to you guys.
Nice. Well, let's maybe start with you, and you could share a little bit about your background, what you're up to in the book space, and then we can jump in and make it a sort of an interactive conversation on book launch strategies.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I actually write fiction and nonfiction, and then I also coach writers on writing their books, as well as what I call success mindset, or pro writer mindset. So helping them get into the space of how they need to think to be the professional author that they want to be. I've written 10 books and counting, got lots more coming, and mostly nonfiction at this point, but I've done a novel as well, and I'm working on a second one.
What's the most recent book that you've put out, Jennifer?
The most recent one is called Journal Your Writing Dreams to Life, and it's all about a mindset practice that you can do to actually start to manifest the things that you want to create in your life and your writing life and just in general.
Nice. Excited to have you here. And
Thanks.
let's go over maybe to Simon and Jesse for a moment. Simon and Jesse, you guys do a lot with book launches at Launch Team. And maybe you could share from your perspective, what are some of the most important considerations for authors, as they're preparing to launch their book to really maximize book sales?
Yeah, Simon, I'll let you go ahead and chime in, and then I'll add color as necessary.
Yeah, sure thing. Well, when it comes to book launches and how to think about going about the pre-launch, it's all about strategy. It's all about setting the pieces in place and having, actually thinking about book launch well in advance of actually launching the book, well in advance of finishing writing the book. And as Launch Team, one of the core things that we teach people how to do is how to create and really motivate your launch team and make sure that they are able to be with you and basically grow an insider's tribe, exclusive network for you to be able to go ahead and have a successful launch. So one of the ways we do that is we talk to authors and try to figure out very early on, where are their circles of influence, where are people that resonate with them, their brand, their message, and what they're putting out as a book itself, how to cultivate that people into some kind of group, email list, a Facebook group, and whatnot, get them excited about the process, make it a very much so a we experience. So you're providing a lot of value to them. You're getting them excited, engaged with your book from the very beginning, sharing your manuscript with them, being able to get basically everybody that's in your launch team, get them an advanced copy of your manuscript. So when you actually do launch, you're going to be able to have a number of reviews well in advance of the world being of your book being known to the world and in public as having a launch take place. You kind of we have a strategy where you have like a secret or a soft launch, then you have a public launch, and then you kind of take it off and race from there. At the same time, in the background, it's important to keep up in terms of like letting the world know about you. So we talk to a lot of people about maintaining a blog at the same time as potentially already having some podcast interviews pre-wound up. So when your book comes to life and it's published and launched, then your podcast can drop at the same time, and you basically look like you're kind of everywhere at the same time to that. And then another thing that I like to bring up that we like to use is a service called Thunderclap, and it's basically a social media aggregator tool where if you get basically 100 people to support you through a one-time post, there's this really cool and slick campaign thing called Thunderclap that'll allow you to, basically have all those people have a one-time post onto their Facebook or onto their Twitter. And then you get to reach out and have an echo, basically have an amplified echo of your launch taking place. And that all has to happen in the pre-launch phase. And I'll let Jesse chime in with some more things that we do.
Yeah, you really went off there, Simon. You got into the weeds real quick on that one. I mean, I don't want to go too deep too fast here. I mean, but the overall point that Simon's making is that we really sink our teeth into at Launch Team is just the planning process. There's a lot of different things, and Simon just mentioned a lot that might have just make you feel like you're overwhelmed for just hearing all that. But at the end of the day, there's certain things that you can do that move the needle. There's some general stuff that we'll probably get into today that will really help you figure that out. And help you figure out for you what's the best process, but really it's about the planning, and I'm sure we'll get into more details throughout.
Yeah, I think maybe a good way to do this is I'll lay out the process that we've used over the last 5 books or so that we've launched that you guys have helped out on, and then we can see how that pairs up with Jonathan's approach, Jennifer's approach, Tom's approach. So from my perspective. What Simon just described in terms of having a secret launch and then a public launch and so forth, this is how we've done it with a lot of the books that you see behind here is, once the book is all ready and we've got a launch date set about, 3-4 weeks ahead of time, we have the author reaching out to their friends and family, their network, getting copies of the book, advanced copies of the book to those people so they can read and review. And an important part of the strategy, something I've really learned from you guys, Simon and Jesse, is getting people to leave reviews ahead of time and aggregating them in like a Google Doc into a dynamic document. So now people have already had time to read the book, leave a review. Then the secret launch is really, setting the book. What we've done is set the Kindle version of the book for free 2 days or so before the actual launch date. And then having all those people that read in the book and created a review actually go in and download a copy of the Kindle book for free, right? And then leave the review that they've already written. So now it appears as a verified purchase review on Amazon, which is important because you get an extra boost in the rankings by having verified purchase reviews. And then when the actual launch date hits, the book goes from free to having a price on it. And now when people are going there through a combination of emails, paid advertising, on Facebook and Amazon marketing services, social media, and other types of promotion, then people see a book page that already has ideally dozens of reviews, and they're coming into a work in progress. Instead of on the launch date having no reviews and it looks like a ghost town, this is how you set it up. So when the book actually launches, now it looks like there's a lot of action going on. And so we do a big promotion on the launch day, usually putting the Kindle at like 99 cents, having the paperback and probably audiobook is available as well at full price, and promote the Kindle, drive as many sales as possible so it gets into the bestseller charts. And then after the launch date, stair step the price back up to a full price. So that's a high level overview of our book launch strategy that basically the last 6 books we published, each one has hit #1 bestseller in at least one relevant category. So it works, and it's worked for us. I'm interested to hear from Jonathan and Jennifer and Tom, what variation you may use on this, or what's what from a high level at first, how do you look at getting ready to launch and launching a book? Who would like to go? Let's go, Jonathan.
So when I'm launching a book, I really come from the mindset of I have no audience and no one knows me yet. I want to be able to launch cold. And so my approach is really about focusing on Amazon. That's my core source of book sales. And I focus more on reviews there. Having reviews other places doesn't help me as much. So what I normally do is when I first release the book, I release it at 99 cents and I call it a stealth launch. And I slowly tell a small network of people, I say, the book, it's 99 cents. Don't tell anyone. This is an early draft. But I get people in, and I also have a lot of people that I say, look, you're an early reviewer, an early reader. Would you please take a look and find any mistakes? And if you find any mistakes, tell me. And if you don't, leave me an awesome review. And this way I kind of get 2 uses from people, or 2 return on my investment. So people send me back all the mistakes, so I get an even better edited version because stuff always slips past the editor. And they end up leaving loads of reviews that are on Amazon, and they're verified reviews. It's nice to have a space between when someone buys the book for Amazon and when they leave a review. I find that if I give people pre-release copies like crazy, then on launch day or the first day it's out, they leave all those reviews and they're all on the same date. It kind of looks a little bit weird. They buy the book and leave a review 5 minutes later. it's not as strong for Amazon. Amazon's always looking for sketchy stuff. So I want to future proof myself in case they, in the future, decide to start sweeping if you get too many reviews on a single day, because they're always changing what they're doing. Once I get about 2 weeks of reviews and I have it out there and I'm getting the word out just by posting on different social media and kind of looking for high level reviewers or people that reviewed similar books, then I go into my launch cycle, which is actually 2 weeks after it's on Amazon. And that's when I do a big free promotion and push the book.
And what do you find from doing the free promotion? Do you set it for all 5 days that you have available? Or
no, what I do is I do 1 day. I buy as much traffic as I can. I announce on all those websites that say, oh, tell us when you have a free book. We'll tell our audience. I buy any traffic I can get my hands on. And then I end the promotion between 3 and 5 p.m. Pacific or 3 and 5 p.m. Eastern. And it depends on your time zone, but I like to edit mid-afternoon. By ending it early, a bunch of people will see my book that was free, but now it's at 99 cents. And so a lot of people, if you go from free 9 cents, they'll still buy it. They go, oh, it's still a deal. But some people make the mistake of putting their book right to like $7 or $8. No one's going to think free and then spend $7 or $8. But ending it early does is it translates my momentum from, hey, can this guy give away free books? Anyone can give away a book. People take free stuff all the time, but can he actually sell? And this demonstrates to Amazon's master computer, which I call Skynet, that I can sell actual books. And so my ranking from free side translates into my ranking for the paid side. If you let Amazon end it on their own, they end it at like 3 a.m. Eastern when no one's awake. And so they update the rankings every 3 hours. So you go through 2 full updates before anyone is even awake or anyone is even making purchases. So your ranking might be good at 3 a.m. or midnight, but then it goes down, 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 down before people wake up and are making purchases. So letting the middle of the night be that moment where you transition from free to paid can actually crush your rankings. It's one of the worst things that can happen to you.
That's a great tip. And maybe Simon or somebody can drop that one into the chat for us so we've got a record of it. But what you're referring to there is basically turning off or canceling the free promotion manually instead of letting it run out when you set the days on which the book will be available for free. And by doing that, you're saying at 3 or 5 in the afternoon, then you transition from giving the book away for free to being now in the paid rankings and capturing sales. Is that right?
Yeah. So on the morning around 9 a.m. Pacific, a bunch of emails go out that from all those lists that say, here's the books that are free today on Amazon. And some people get that email in the morning and then they've gone to work. So they see the list, they go to work. They don't have a chance to download it from work or whatever. Not everyone's as lazy at work as I was. And when they get home from work, they go, oh, I want to grab these books. They go, oh, I missed it. Oh, it's only 99 cents. It's still on sale, so I'll grab it. I want them to feel that moment. And so I'm capturing the people that miss the morning rush. And it really translates into a lot of sales. And it's a really good time to convert those people. It's afternoon. It's not too late. And it will really make a big difference. What I noticed before when I let Amazon end it is that I'd be like ranked number 1 in every category on Thursday. Friday, I get up. And now I'm ranked number like 5,000 in my category. So it's almost no benefit if I let Amazon edit at their time.
Good. Great tip. Jennifer, how does this compare or contrast with your approach when you're getting ready to launch and launching books?
Well, I do a lot of similar things that they mentioned. So things like having the book at 99 cents for the first week or the first few days. I definitely like to use, if possible, like a 99-cent book promo. Like I've used Buck Books a lot for when I have a new book coming out. I set the promo up ahead of time with them so that the day it comes out or that, a few days after that, they have their promo go out and then I get a whole bunch of sales from that. Obviously just sending a lot of emails to my own community and my lists, as well as promoting it. I have a Facebook group for writers, so I promote it there, all over social media, obviously. Some other things I like to do is just sort of thinking about free content that would tie into the topic of the book in some way. So I might do a live training, like on a live stream or something, and then at the end tell people, oh, hey, go, check this book out. It's new. It just came out today or whenever. But I'm always looking for ways to sort of tie something free, whether it's like a training or maybe it's just like I'll run a challenge or something, like a 5-day challenge to do something. That I actually started one of my books that way. Was I did a 30-day challenge to help people overcome their bad writing habits. And then I turned it into a book. And that was actually my first one that became a bestseller on Amazon. Was that because so many people had that momentum of like, oh, I did this challenge and it was so much fun. And now I want to get the book version where I can have everything all in one place. So doing that helped a lot, I think, with just keeping people excited and giving them some tons of free value before I asked them to buy anything from me.
And let's talk a little bit more about that. What was that book, and what was the nature, the challenge you ran that led into the book launch?
Yeah. So I basically decided, and this was like, I don't know, March of 2016. I was like, okay, I need to get my writing habits back on track because they had sort of fallen off. And so I thought, well, a really fun thing to do would be to run a challenge with my community and just invite them in to have 30 days worth of emails, and I'll give them tips on how to overcome the bad habits that they have while I'm working on my own, and sort of use it as a motivator. So the 30 days went by, and in that process, I was actually taking the content and putting it into an ebook. So then after the challenge was over, I ended up turning it into an ebook on Amazon. And then it was like, hey guys, if you enjoyed the challenge, you can go grab this ebook where all of the challenge content is in there. And it included audios and worksheets and everything that I gave them in the free challenge, but it was all in one place and it was organized, and I gave them additional prompts and things. And so it was very easy to sort of segue into, if you really like this challenge, now you can have a copy of it anytime you need it. You can go to your Kindle and get it. And so that was, I think, a big help in getting people interested in wanting to actually get the book.
That's a pretty cool one. I haven't heard that strategy before. And that worked out well for you? Did you repeat that on any other books, perhaps without the challenge becoming the book itself, but doing a challenge that led into a book launch?
I haven't actually done a challenge that led into a book launch. The one that I did was sort of a one-off. I kind of just came up with the idea, and then as I was going through the challenge, thought, oh, I should turn this into a book. So it kind of fed into itself a little bit, but I would definitely use that strategy for a book if I decided like, oh, this is something I think I could make a challenge and then lead into. So if you're going to do that, so let's say you're an author who wants to do that, what I would say is take your book and look at what are the pre-steps, or like what are the things that people should do before they even get to your book, or before they're going to get started on whatever you're teaching them in the book, and then sort of build the challenge around that. So it's like your step 0 or step 1 before they actually get into the book. Or you could always use the first couple of steps and then like, hey, if you want the rest, go get this book. So that would be a great way to sort of bring someone in and get them to know who you are and understand your content and whether or not they like you.
That is interesting. It just gave me an idea. Maybe we'll try it sometime, of having the book be part of a challenge, where you read a chapter and then do an action. And if you had the book for free or at a low price, then you participate in the challenge, get a copy of the book, and then the challenge tells you what to read and what to do based on it.
Yeah. Another thing, and I didn't do this with my own book. I actually did this with a book that my mentor wrote, but he has this book that I tell everybody to buy it because it, for me, was the thing that changed my ability to write really good novels. And so I did in January, this like series where we actually read a section of the book for 7 days and we talked about it on a live stream each day. So you could do something like that too with a book, is if it's coming out or it just came out, you could take each section and actually make it like a reading guide, or having like, let's do little live streams each day where we'll talk about each section. Well, people have to get a copy of the book in order to participate in the live streams and in the conversation. So right there, you get people buying the book and they're excited because there's not just a book, but now there's an event that's going to force them to actually read it and then talk about it.
That's
so that
really
was fun
good.
too.
Yeah, thank you for that. Tom, let's get you in here. How does everything we're talking about compare or contrast with, how you think about approaching a book launch?
Yeah, I mean, they're all like sound tactics and strategies. I guess to give it like perspective, like I've done a bunch of different launches, worked on a bunch of them, from crowdfunding campaigns to, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, like traditionally published books that have hit those lists, to self-published. And I think it also
tackle the newspaper lists and that side of things, because I know people are interested in that and you have a lot of experience.
I mean, the tough part about that one is it just takes a lot of money. Like that's the economics of it. It's like if somebody wants to hit New York Times, Wall Street Journal, you're talking like just estimates on any given week. It totally depends what week it is and what the competition is like. So if you have, Oprah and Donald Trump coming out with a book one week, you probably don't want to have your book come out that week. And then, so that's an example. So it's a lot of it's relative and it's based on the competitiveness, where other books are ranking and how many they're selling. And then the challenge is that so then you're looking at like, I think the rule of thumb that I've heard and that we kind of worked with when we were like working on these campaigns, like we wanted to hit a certain number. We were trying to hit like 10 to 15,000 pre-orders minimum. And then we wanted them to we would hopefully like them, like to kind of be fulfilled over the course of a 1 to 2 week period. And ideally we're having more like 20 to 30,000. And then we have maybe another 10,000 sales during that time period. And the idea being if we can fulfill maybe like 8 to 10,000 in first week and maybe like 15 to 20,000 that second week, we kind of are showing and signaling that this is a book that's selling, that people like this book. USA Today, I think, among others, they track Boker BookScan. So you have to have distribution to get on a list like that. And then Wall Street Journal and New York Times, they also track that, but you probably maybe read some of these debates on it. Those are totally subjective, and especially New York Times is completely subjective list in that I worked on a book that sold more than whatever was number 10 on the list for that time period. And it's like, it doesn't matter. Because like for whatever reason, they chose not to include this one. So it's not just sales.
Yeah, I think that's an important distinction. Maybe there's more to say on that, but like with Kindle promotions and on Amazon, it's much more black and white in terms of, you could get a pretty general idea for how many books it would take to be in the top 5 or number 1 in a category based on looking at the Amazon bestseller rank and using Kindle calculator and doing the math and hitting the numbers. Whereas with a newspaper list, as you're saying, Tom, there is a subjectivity. It's not just about how many book sales. There's an editorial decision. Mm-hmm. And I think that needs to be taken into account. Yep. Certainly if you're going to put in the time and money to do a campaign of that scale. Anything else you want to say on that?
Just the only thing is, since probably most people here are probably going the self-publishing route, it's not impossible to hit one of those lists self-published, but you have to have distribution. So you have to be able to lay down cash basically for a company to get you distribution, or you have to work with somebody like Jesse Krieger.
Tom, I actually had a question.
Well, I want to just share a couple of things here that are coming in. We have somebody in the chat saying, I've become a committed follower of Jennifer. Her training, webinars, workshops have been an awesome inspiration for me. Specifically, this person says, my first step began with reading Jennifer's Align Your Writing Habits book. It's been great. So Jennifer, some people showing love.
Nice. Thanks a lot.
Anything you want to shout out to them?
Yeah, thanks a lot. I really appreciate that.
Nice. Tom, were you going somewhere else on that conversation thread?
I think Jesse might have said something, right? Were you?
Yeah, I had a quick question to ask you, Tom, that maybe people listening are wondering. On the New York Times, Wall Street, that path, are they counting digital at all, or are they just counting hard copy books?
Yeah. So like it's a good question. And yeah, they are like both. And so some like the New York Times, I think, has a list for like everything, like every kind of category, like hardcover, nonfiction, soft, like trade paperback, nonfiction. Then I think, and then like a Kindle or a digital. And so they are tracking things in different ways. And that's to the best of my knowledge. When I worked on it, it was like, we wanted to hit like the hardcover New York.
So those are separate. It's not cumulative. They're separate.
Yeah. They're separate. So you can be on one and not the others. Exactly. So yeah. And then coming back to the self-publishing, this was the only thing I was going to say. So yeah, you need a distributor. Like I know Greenleaf does it and more and more there's ways, but you have to throw money down basically to be able to get the distribution so that if you, cause I think even like, I want to say like Pat Flynn or something like that, like made it onto one of those lists somehow. And I think he did through his Kindle sales. So in that's probably something more closer to life, like of tangible, like, but you have to get a ton of sales. Like you're talking probably thousands and thousands in like a very short time period. And then I don't know what their stipulations are. Like, can you do it? Does 99 cents count? I have no idea like what those particulars are. We focused on the hardcover aspect of it.
Well, I think that brings up an interesting point that's worth sharing with everybody on this panel and on the summit, which is that, a bestseller can mean a number of things. And the specifics of it is that you've got bestsellers in different categories, bestseller lists for each format. So for example, if you have your book available as a Kindle, paperback, hardcover, and Audible or audiobook edition, then there's actually 4 independent charts that you can be ranking on. And so it's not just a matter of driving as many sales in any different format. I think the real goal, or certainly my approach, is to pick a format, pick a chart and a category, and then focus strategically and intentionally on getting the numbers you need to place in that chart, in that format, in that category. Anybody else want to jump in on that? And is there anything else to say on that point?
I mean, I would just maybe chime in this one piece, because I think everybody kind of was like touching on like the 99 cents kind of launch. And then I think we talked a little bit about free to the transition and stuff like that. And I'll say like the majority campaigns I've run for people who are self-published, and this is, I think, one of the powers of it, is the ability to, if you're leveraging Amazon and you are self-publishing, so you have complete creative control and control over pricing and all these other things. I love the free book giveaway thing. And I'll be honest, like when I run it, typically I'm like, let's do a 5 days free. So I will say it's different strokes for different folks. And we've had great success with that. Now, depending on what niche you're in, if it's too small, you don't want to necessarily cannibalize sales. But we're typically going into a place where like, business or startups or entrepreneurship or, I don't know, cooking or right. All those different. So there's a lot of big audience. So I like moving to something. The nice part about doing the free thing, this is the only thing I'll say about this, and we can move on to another subject, is if you're considering it, you're not sure, if you don't have much of an audience, I think free is one of the best ways to do it. And it seems totally counterintuitive, but then at least the conversation you're having with people, because all you want people to do is just share it. That's it. Not asking people to buy it or download it, just ask them to share it. And if it's free, it's easy to share. It's a gift. So it changes the construct of how they communicate that with other people. So you're not asking, hey, would you share my book that I'm going to make $1 on? It's just, that's a waste of a conversation, in my opinion. Like, that's terrible. You're not going to make any money off that 99 cents anyway. I'd rather make it free and get everyone I know to share it and feel comfortable and feel good sharing it because they did something good because they're giving a gift. And then on the back end, oh, look at all those reviews I got, encouraging those reviews, and then leading that momentum into a discount, like 99 cents, and then pushing all my paid traffic to the discount. So that's like the way I would approach it, because it's just a different conversation. And it's easier for me to promote a book that way when I can give it away free. So just food for thought that there's a lot of ways to cut this.
Yeah, I think the common thread from what everybody's shared here, at least with regards to doing a Kindle launch and having it free, is getting that core group, the core group of fans, followers, your audience, your launch team, to get an advanced copy, to leave a review, and build the story a little bit when it's a free book, but not promoting that necessarily to a wide public audience. And then, at least in our case, putting the price to 99 cents, like Jennifer mentioned, having a Buck Books email scheduled, and Buck Books started by Buck Flogging, who is an amazing partner of this summit, also has an interview on the summit that you don't want to miss. He's very prolific in the author space online, and he's got some great resources like Buck Books that basically allow you to get your book launch on a paid book at 99 cents in front of tens of thousands of people through their email list. So shout out to Buck Books. Let's maybe switch gears a little. Jonathan, I'd love to throw this over to you, and maybe you could preview a little bit about your own talk in the sense of how you think of, before you even get to the launch stage, the research that leads up to what book I'm going to write based on the topic, the chart, the genre, and maybe zoom out and look at it from that perspective.
Yeah. So as much as I'm an author and I've done loads of bestsellers, I really am more someone who wants to sell books. That's my primary motivation. I'm here to make money. So I look for the audience first. And usually the way I approach it is I have my writing notebook, which has about 100 rough book titles in it. And anytime I have a new idea, I write it in there. And then I hop onto Amazon. I'm always looking to see what's trending, what's hot, what's on the way up and what's on the way down. And I'll look at different categories to see, can I get in here easily? And I look for a category where the first book is selling like out of the top 20. And then the 20th book, I like it to be like around 30,000. So I know all top 20 books are making money, and that even if I'm like number 7, I'll still make pretty good money. Sometimes there's a category where all the books are in the top 1,000 on Amazon. That means they're selling hundreds a day. That's very hard to break into. I'm not going to outsell someone who's on television. I'm not going to outsell a famous musician. I'm not going to outsell the president if I try and go against his book. So what I look for are opportunities. And my calculation is that any book that's in the top 30,000 on Kindle is making at least $100 a month. And that's my baseline. I don't want to put out a book that's making less than that. I don't want to put any effort, but if each book's making $1,000 a year, you put out 100 books, you got yourself a new sports car. It's okay. And that's my bottom. And then if all the books are there and I see that there's momentum, I see that the audience is looking for those books. And I especially like if I find a category that a lot of the books have poor reviews, that they're still ranking. So sometimes you'll see a book with like 3 stars that's in the top 20. And that lets me know that there's movement in the category, or I see new books in the category. I see books that are 99 cents. Like sometimes you'll look at a category and you'll see like the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People and 19 other books that are all 50 years old. that's a category that's been frozen for a long time. Trying to break into that is really hard as an independent author. So more and more, I look for like a tight audience, and especially if you're writing about something that solves a specific problem. More and more, I like to write a book that solves a very tight problem. Recently, I wrote a book about procrastination, and I wrote it in a single day just to see if I could, after getting inspired by Steve Scott, who's one of my book writing heroes. I know he's part of the summit too. And I said, oh, I got to be prolific like this guy. And that book is actually now my number 2 most profitable book. I wrote it in a single day, and it solves a really small problem. People like problem solution in nonfiction. So finding spaces where there's a lot of people looking for answers and where there's a lot of movement, those are things that I look for. I always look for the audience first. Oftentimes I want to write a book and I'll find out no one wants to buy it and I can't write it. I wanted to write a book about email marketing, which I'm passionate about. No one at Amazon cares at all. So there's no point in writing a book because no one will ever read it. I don't want to shout into the desert.
That's a good point. And, I'd love to hear, Jennifer, your perspective on, how much do you, with so many books that you've written, how much pre-planning do you do in terms of like market research to assess, is this a topic? Is this a category where there's an existing reader demand? Or does that come into your thought process when you're thinking about doing it? It
really doesn't, only because I pretty much write in the same category, which is authorship. So I'm writing books for writers. I like to sort of focus on what I call like the metaphysics of being a writer, which is like the stuff that actually gets in your way of putting words on the page. And then you just get stopped by it. So things like procrastination and doubt and having bad habits and your mindset not being in the right place and things like that. So I like to sort of write books that they kind of come to me as like, I call them divine downloads, but it's literally just an inspired action. Like 1 second I'm just sitting there and the next second, bam, there's like this idea and I just run with it. And I found that those are the most powerful books that I've put out there, just kind of trusting that instinct of like, this is something I know my audience needs. Now I know my audience really well, so I know the types of books that they are looking for and things like that. I have been thinking about going sort of into different categories, in which case I would definitely do way more research if I was going to go that direction. So.
Well, maybe let me reframe the question then, since it sounds like most of your books or all of your books are in the category for writers, for authors. And you clearly know this audience well. How does that play into the next book that you do write into that audience? And, do you have like a feedback loop with your readers? And does that inform your thought process, or is it more of being inspired and getting a download and running with it?
It's mostly the inspiration. So I definitely think about, would this be something that an author would need or that they would be struggling with, that they would want to read? Obviously, I'm not thinking like, oh, I'm just going to put this out there and hope it sells. Like, no, I'm thinking about the problems that they have. And I coach a lot of writers. So I've definitely talked to a lot of writers. And I know, obviously being a writer myself, the things I've struggled with and how I overcame it. And so I just try to write about that stuff. And if I feel like there's something I do want to write about that maybe like I'm not sure if they would want it, then I would go in my Facebook group and I would just ask them a question like, what is your biggest struggle when it comes to whatever topic? And then just see how many comments come in. And then I'll actually try to use those responses and answer those questions with the content of the book. So, I haven't done that a lot, but
I'm hearing a contrast of approach, whereas, Jonathan's perspective is looking at the market, identifying if there's, a demand and a way that he can put a book in front of an existing audience. And I know that you use pen names, Jonathan, whereas Jennifer, you have an audience and write into the same category, into the same topic for the same readers. And it sounds like have a feedback loop and a way to make sure that what you're about to release hits the mark based on your own experience and that of the authors that you coach.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely a combination, but I would say at the end of the day, or the thing that's going to be the final deciding factor, is if I feel this is something I have to write. Like, I just feel I can't not write this book, I have to do it. Then that's the final deciding factor. Even if I feel like I didn't do any research, I don't know if people are going to want it, but sometimes I just trust that instinct of like, I'm going to put this out there. And those are usually the ones that do the best. So I just kind of stick with that.
Good. I love it. I like having different perspectives. I like showcasing that there's more than one way to go about writing, releasing a book, promoting, marketing. Got a question here coming in. It says, so does your volume on the free chart help your paid chart ranking beyond the reviews? Jesse and Simon, maybe Tom, if you want to jump in, or Jonathan,
Yeah, I can say a few words on this one. You can hear me, right? I'm not muted. Okay. And Jonathan mentioned this a little bit as well and talked about it beautifully. So, but just to echo what he was saying, there's this process on Amazon, and if you're listening and you haven't launched a book before, you're not going to know these things. But just to describe, there's two lists. There's a free list and there's a paid list. So if your book is $0, it's on the free charts, the free list. And if it's anything other than $0, it's on the paid list or the paid charts. And so there are two distinct places where your book lives. And what happens on the free charts can affect what happens on the paid charts, because there's a little switchover period of a few hours where Amazon's algorithms are changing things over, and your book will still show up actually on the free charts, even once it's 99 cents or another price. So what Jonathan described and what we also like to do with our launches is have that switchover during the afternoon where it's a high traffic moment on the site, right? If people during the day, there's way more people on Amazon who are buying stuff than in the middle of the night, for the US market, and which is probably where you're going to be doing everything. So the idea is that you get lots and lots of activity happening on the free charts because everyone loves free. And so hopefully if you're doing things right and doing some of these strategies that everyone's talking about here, you're getting lots of units off the shelf, off the proverbial shelf on the free charts. And that's going to put you up the rankings on the free charts. When you switch to the paid, if you have lots of volume on the free charts during that couple hours where, Amazon's propagating your book onto the paid charts, they're going to still show your book at the very top of the free charts, even though it's listed as 99 cents or whatever price you choose. So what happens is there's lots of people looking at that, because the traffic on Amazon, there's lots of people that know they can go look at all the free books that day. And there's people who just do that. There's probably millions of people who are just looking for free books on Amazon at any given day. So when your book is listed there and it's 99 cents, psychologically, the person's going to say, oh, well, this book looks great. It's at the top of these charts. It must be a great book. It's not free, but it's only 99 cents. And that's why I think a lot of us are saying we like that strategy where you go from free to 99 cents versus free to $10, because people are going to be much less likely to buy it in that case. So it's all about the strategy here, where if you go from that free to paid, you do it from 0 to 99 cents, you do it in the afternoon, then yes, the volume and the things that are happening on the free charts can affect certainly your activity on the paid charts.
Yeah.
Well said.
And Jesse,
I want to add to that.
Yeah, I just want to add a little bit. I was going to say that it's important to always be monitoring both charts, the free charts and the paid charts, because you never know when someone else is going to be releasing a book at the same time as you. So you want to have some other charts that you potentially want to move your book into, in case all of a sudden you're in a chart that, Tony Robbins and Tim Ferriss and a few others are hitting all at the same time. And so when you switch over to the paid, they're there at the same exact time as you, and you have really no chance to hit #1 bestseller. So always have a couple of different categories that are auxiliary, that obviously are tied into your niche, tied into what your book's about, in case you want to switch categories while you're in the free charts, or even switch categories while at the same time as you're making the switch from free to paid.
Oh, good. Let's dive into this one a little more, because this is something I learned from you guys, Simon and Jesse, on the book launches that we've done together, which really ended up moving the needle in a big way for some of our launches, which was, as the launch was going on, Simon and Jesse were researching other categories that would still be representative of the book we're launching, but were less competitive in terms of how many books you would need to sell to hit #1. Talk a little bit about the process of that research and the math involved to come up with the different categories that you could switch in the process of a launch. And then we'll see if anybody else on the panel wants to jump in on that too.
Okay. Yeah. I'll start with some high level, and then Simon, you can dig in a little bit more. Simon's brilliant at this. He does a lot of this with our launches. He's really good at finding the places where your book is going to be most optimal and do the best and perform the best. So, and Jonathan touched on this as well. So this is part of the unique value that you can get from self-publishing and from working on the Amazon platform, is that you have ultimate control of pretty much everything. You control your price, you control the categories that your book's in, you control, when your book's going to switch over from free to paid, and if you want to do a free promotion in the first place. So you have lots of options to do all these kinds of things that can really help you both in the short term for your book launch and in the long term to make sure you have continued sales. And category switching is one of those things. So Jonathan was saying he's looking at the competition before he does a book. And so he kind of has an idea of where he wants to go and what categories he wants to attack. We do a little bit of that, but then we also do it on the fly during the launch process, which is what Simon was getting at, where we will look at the category that's going to be relevant to your topic, relevant to your book, and the least competitive for your book. Because at the end of the day, you want to get that #1 bestseller tag on your book. You want to be up there in the rankings because, again, people are searching on Amazon and they're looking at the rankings, and Amazon does little things where they put little banners and flags around best-selling books. And so you're going to get more organic traffic just by hitting #1, even if it's in a subcategory. So that's great. And then from there, you can start to, put yourself into more competitive categories and keep kind of stepping up the ladder. But so I'll let Simon get into more of the details, but essentially you can switch these categories on the fly and they will propagate again every few hours. And that allows you to kind of put yourself into a position where you can feel confident that you're going to hit, hopefully #1, if not #2, #3 in a category.
Anybody else want to jump in on that? Jonathan, go ahead.
Yeah, I think he's dialed into something that I do. When I'm picking, Amazon lets you pick 2 categories at any given time for Kindle. You also get 2 for CreateSpace, and then you get 1 more for audiobooks. You can be in 5 different categories. What I like to do, and he touched on it, is have a strong and a weak category. So I'll pick one that's a little easier so that I get that bestseller orange star next to my name, next to my book title from the weaker category. And that gets more people in the strong category because they see my book, even if it's number 7 or 8, it says bestseller next to it. And then once you climb to the top of that strong one, then you can move your weak one to a little bit stronger the next one. And another thing that Amazon lets you do, you can actually update your book, your Kindle description multiple times per day, especially after your first couple of books. They update you faster. When I first did updates, it would take 2 days. Now I tend to get a change push within 1 to 2 hours by Amazon because I built up my relationship. So during a launch day or a promo day, I'll change categories 7 or 8 times. And you'll see under my book, it'll say #1 and boom, 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 boom. You can actually show up in 9 or 10 categories because their updating department is way faster than their display department. So it'll be delayed and you can rank in 7 to 10 categories during a big promo day if you're moving categories a lot. So it'll say bestseller and boom, 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 boom. People go, wow, this guy must be the best author of all time. It really controls perception. And in sales, as you know, perception is everything.
Jonathan, real quick, you can also put that, I don't know if you do this, put it in your description too, right? Even though you can change your actual description of the book where you're just writing about what the book's about. And sometimes I'll put #1 in this category, #1 in that category, just right there in the description, because people are going to see that. And then that affects their perception as well. I don't lie. I don't put that there unless I have it. But if I've hit those rankings, you can put it right into the description. And you'll see, if you go look at my books on Amazon, you see that I still have those there because people see that right away. It's at the top of the page and they just
That's
say,
a good point.
Well, I'm going to start doing that right now.
Do it, man.
I got to go update all my descriptions in the next 5 minutes.
I mean, when we do
on the book cover. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you guys should all jump on that for sure. What we'll do is on the cover, once we do the launch,
right,
and we hit #1, you can't put Amazon on your book cover because that'll get flagged. It won't get approved, but you can put #1 bestseller or some variation. So right when we do the launch, we have one of these designed, we update the cover, push that out. And now people are seeing #1 bestseller on the book that's still launching. And it's got a lot of promo going. We started doing that, did that to a few of the recent books. And I just think it shows well, similar to what Jesse was saying about updating your book description, to have a bold opening line saying #1 bestseller in XYZ category. You do anything similar to that, Jennifer or Tom?
I know I personally don't. I really, well, at least on the cover thing, I don't mess with that at all. With the category thing, I'll tweak, but I usually don't do it in a multiple times a day kind of thing. That's interesting. I usually like to see how things lay after a few days of traffic and sales. And yeah, but I mean, I think that's fascinating to think about the daily thing. I don't know if that would dramatically improve my results, but I'm willing to test it out. So I think that's fun.
Yeah, I'm definitely stealing the idea about adding. Oops. Definitely stealing the idea about adding that to my books, the ones that hit number one for sure.
To the book description. Yeah, that's a good pro tip. I got a question coming in. Let's discuss this for a little. Chuck Bartok says that he doesn't discount books. Instead, he feels like it is a disservice to people that paid full price. You know, what are your feelings on pricing strategy and adjusting pricing? I think it's one thing to go from free to higher price up to a final resting, but maybe it's another if you've got a full price book and then all of a sudden it's free or 99 cents. Do you ever get negative feedback from having different pricing on your book from people that bought it at different times, different ways?
Nope.
Yeah.
I think
ever.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh,
That's an across the board no, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
everyone's getting excited.
We all
I
wanna
mean,
say
have
something.
you ever looked at something you bought and then remembered what it costed 6 months later? Have you ever actually thought about one of your own purchases?
Or like companies discount their stuff all the time. And I'll be like, oh, I just bought that 2 weeks ago and now it's on sale. But like that happens. What are you going to do? Stores do that kind of stuff.
I mean, yeah, that's especially retail stores will run sales, have promotions, clearance, all that good stuff. Just interesting. But it sounds like this is working well for him. He says that he sets up a chapter or more to read on his site so people can read part of the book there and then link over to buy a full price. And that's been working for him. So that's good. But yeah, I haven't gotten negative feedback from having different pricing on books.
If you don't do different pricing though, here's the downside of it. You might feel like maybe you're running a more ethical business or something like that, which is, again, I obviously should do whatever you think is right. But one, I don't think it's not right to switch your pricing. And two, I think by not changing your pricing up, you don't see what the optimal price point is for your book. And so you're leaving margin on the table, or by keeping it at a certain price point, maybe not adjusting it down even a single dollar, you're losing out on, maybe 10x the reach of your book. And this is what we've seen, because we'll do price changes and we'll keep pushing traffic and stuff like that. And we'll see that there's always an optimal like price point for a particular book. And a lot of people just go straight, like go to, once you're from 99 cents, go to like $2.99 or something like that. It doesn't have to be that. It could be $4.99. It could be higher, but you can't know that unless you're testing it out. So I think you owe it to yourself to test pricing. I'd flip it and say, because maybe you could reach more people if you actually test out your pricing.
Let's talk about pricing in the scheme of the launch and thereafter. Like, how do all of you look at setting a price, regardless of what you do for the promo period? How do you resolve to a final sort of static price for the book that remains consistent for a while after a promo period's over?
I'll do mine real quick just because I kind of a segue. So if I typically do the free, then I'll go to 99 cents. I'll do a lot of those paid promotion sites where there's Buck Books, BookBub, and everything in between. And we've actually done so many thousands that I know some of the ones that are just garbage that you shouldn't spend money on. But that's my secret.
Which ones are those?
Put it into
yes, do share.
I can't talk about their names out loud. I feel like that would be bad. But maybe there's a better way. Like I would say there's some that are really good. Like I actually think Buck Books is really effective. You're gonna get more. What I say is, as long as it costs me, based on the number of downloads or sales I get at $1, as long as it comes out equal, which means I'm still net negative. But even that is hard to hit on a lot of those sites because of like you're spending $50 or $100 to get promoted, and you end up getting like 30 sales. Well, you're getting a negative. There's no return on investment there for you. So, but I'll do that over the course of like a week or two, and then once we're done doing all that paid promo, we got a pretty good, solid like first place rank kind of thing. I'll increase it by $1. We'll see where after 3 to 5 days where the rank is. Then we'll increase it $1. See where it is 3 to 5 days. And essentially, this is just a simple math thing, right? If we increase it by a certain amount, and the price or the number of sales don't drop by if we increase it by 50% and we don't drop number of sales by 50%, then we just can keep increasing it, right? So it's kind of just a very simple math calculation. And I just kind of progressively go up. And then if we find something, we go up too high and the books, it drops a lot, we'll bring it back down. And so we typically will find an equilibrium in about a month, give or take.
Interesting. Thank you. Anybody else want to chime in?
Yeah, I have some thoughts on this one. I think this is a really incredibly important topic of discussion. And there's several ways you can look at it. And the way I look at it is that, price is arbitrary. If you think about it, it's just some random number that you're like, all right, I'll put this number on this and then some people will buy it, right? If you think about the actual value of what you've done, it's inevitably going to be higher than whatever the price is, right? Because books are an underpriced asset. Like a book is really should be worth like thousands and thousands of dollars, right? Like books change people's lives. And yet people are like, $2.99. I don't know. I'll skip on that. So it's like completely this like ridiculous arbitrary thing. And so you have to think about, number one, what are you trying to do with it? And what are you trying to optimize and why, right? Like Jonathan talked about, he's trying to make money. So he's optimizing for profit, which is great. That's a strategy. And he does it and clearly does it incredibly well. So that's a strategy. And so he does it. That's what his compass is. And so now he's optimizing around that. For me, and for I think lots of other people, there's different ways to optimize around spread. For example, I want to get my book into as many people's hands as possible because we have other services and other products that we offer that we want people to know about. So I happily give my book away. So, to the point of the gentleman who asked about discounting the book, I'm happy to do that because I know the value lies in the content of the book and the future services that we may be able to offer those people. So they're getting immense value out of getting the book for free in that case. It's not a disservice. And also the people who paid for it, again, the value is way more than whatever that price is. So everybody wins. So it really depends on your perspective and what your goal is and what you're trying to achieve. And then that starts to dictate how you treat the price and what you're optimizing it around.
Yeah. I've had a lot of luck with just 99 cents, like literally just leaving almost all my books at 99 cents. So I have a couple that are $2.99, I think, but for the most part, they're just all 99 cents. And some people are like, that, how do you make any money off that? And blah, blah, blah. But I actually do. I make pretty good money. I mean, not what I'd like to make more, obviously, but the point is I'm more about, first of all, writers especially tend to be sort of, I don't want to invest a lot of money. I don't know. So if it's 99 cents, they're much more willing to give it a chance. Whereas if it's $2.99, then they're like, oh, I don't know if I want to spend the money. But 99 cents, like who hasn't wasted $1 before? Like lots of people. So they're more willing to risk it because it's like, it's only $1, no big deal. So me doing that actually helped leverage a bunch of other stuff I have. So like courses and products and things like that. So at 99 cents, it's totally worth it. And then I also make money off the book sales every month because now I'm able to get, 30 to 40, 50 sales a day sometimes because the books are so low price.
Interesting. Jonathan, how does this contrast with your approach? Because I know you're making, a lot of your money from book sales. And I know that one of your recent books, Serve No Master, wound up, on the bestseller list for a long time. It's probably still there with a full price on it. What's your approach and how does that differ from what else people have been sharing?
So that book's been $7.99 for the last year. Part of that, but I also give it away. There's about 10 different ways from my website to get it for free. If you leave a review of my podcast, if you leave a review of one of my courses, I constantly run contests and that gives it value. And sometimes if I run a promo, I'll say to everyone on my list, hey, it's 99 cents, great chance to tell your friends and get it out there. So when I'm running that discount, I let everyone who's already bought it know and say, this is a chance for you to give it to a friend and let everyone know and get the word out. I know that once someone reads my book, they become a fanatic. 90% of my readers buy all my books and they buy multiple formats of each one. So I do keep it a high price, but I also give it away a lot. But actually, after what Tom just said, I just dropped the price to $4.99. I said, you know what? I need to run another price test. This guy's making a good point because I've tested some of my other books. And right now I have a $2.99 book I told you was my second bestseller. I just bumped it up to $3.99. I was like, you know what? I'm going to take action while Tom's talking. I'm hearing these things. I'm going to go back in and redo the description. So I do price test. And the reason I had it at a higher price point is also to justify the cost of the paperback. I charge $19.99 for a paperback. But also my book's almost 500 pages. So it's really long. So part of it is perceived value and part of it is real value. For the length of a book determines my pricing. For a book that I charge $2.99, it's about 20,000 words, which is about 150 pages. But for my longer books, which are $7.99, they're about 100 to 110,000 words. That's 400 to 500 pages. And also I have found though, that I get more money per word for shorter books. So I'm moving in that direction. I have one more long book. I'm going to do 4 long books and then it's all one-day books for me. That's the future because I get about 2.5 times more money per word that I write that way. Yeah. It's all about the money for me. That's all numbers.
When you say one-day book, I'm just clarifying, you mean you write the whole book in a day?
Yeah. So I write it on one day and then edit in the next. I have shifted. As I've told you, I have problems with my eyes. I can't be on the computer very much anymore. So I had to shift my whole business model to dictation. And I dictate about 5 to 6 times faster than I write. So Serve No Master length book, I just put out 20K a day. That's 104,000 words. I dictated that in about 6 days, working 1 hour a day, sitting outside on the beach. My new book, Control Your Fate, is 110,000 words, same thing. So I can sit outside and dictate. hanging out on the beach, hanging with my kids in paradise, and I'm way faster. For me to write it by hand, it's about 4 times slower. So instead of me writing it in 8 hours, I'd write it over the course of 40 hours. So I'm still a really fast writer, but I've had to shift my business model. That means I can dictate in 2 hours a shorter book and then begin the editing process and have it written in one day, edited the next day. And that allows me to be very agile as I see something new in the market. And it's letting me speed up by realizing, and I've been shifting my business model. I focused a lot on my back end, just like Jennifer was talking about. I sell a lot of products on my website, and I probably am about 10-to-1 profit from back end products to books on Amazon. So for every dollar I make on Amazon, I make 5 to 10 from my courses. And now that my back end is strong, I'm shifting. And the reason I category jump is that I want to reach a wider and wider audience. So I have a bunch of authors who follow me, but I don't want to just be authors to authors. Then I have people who want to do one vanity book, like CEOs or small-time celebrities, or people who just want to do one book, or they're specialists in one area. And so I want to reach them in other categories, especially people that are following personal development and people that are in business. I find that those two categories mix and mingle a lot. So that's kind of what my strategy is going forward. And I do believe that one of the biggest hurdles for most authors is how long it takes to write a book. If I'm going to write a book and I know, I'll be done in 9 months, it's hard to take it seriously or hard to focus because the reward is so far from the start of the work. But as I shorten that cycle and I go, I can write a book, I can get an idea Wednesday, write the book Thursday, edit it Friday, release it Saturday, have money Sunday, that puts the goal right in front of me. And I'm good at short-term goals, and I'm not as good at long-term goals like most people. So as I shorten my writing cycle, it becomes much easier for me to adapt to the market or come up with ideas. My audience sends me ideas for books all the time. And now they can send me an idea and then the book can be out like 2 weeks later. And that's really powerful. It makes them feel very empowered. It makes them feel like their voice is heard. And then they become my biggest fanatics. Like out of my audience, I have a core, about 10% of them that will buy anything I write, will review anything I write, will enter every contest, and they're really my core voice. They take my voice and magnify it. So being able to do things quickly has really made a difference. Last year, I only put out 2 books under my main name, and I realized looking back, that was a big mistake. I got too slow. I got bogged down in a couple of other projects, and I realized that people are ravenous for content. I get emails all the time. Hey, you mentioned your next book. When's it ready? When's it ready? And I'm like, I just published one 3 days ago. So people who read a lot. I read a book a day. I love reading. If anyone is listening and you write science fiction or urban fantasy, even better, I'll read it. It doesn't matter if your book is terrible, I'll still read it. I read everything in those categories. I'm ravenous. And so there are people that are the same way. And I know I'm a big reader. And so when someone finishes one of my books, I don't want them reading Tom's book or Jennifer's book or Jesse's book. I want them reading another Jonathan book and then another Jonathan book. So it's like, my readers are like Cookie Monster. I want to feed them my own cookies. I don't want to reading those books behind you, Jesse. Like I want my audience to really focus on me. So I'm generating content because they're voracious.
I think it's time to cut Jonathan's mic.
I have a quick like logistical question for him. Is that allowed?
Yeah, of course.
On your dictation, do you use a transcription service once you dictate? I'm curious because I know that that's a process there.
That's a great question. I actually have a full-time girl who works for me, and all she does is transcribe.
Okay.
I have it, and what I have is a team. I have a full-time transcriptionist because I was using services are very expensive. So what I pay right now is about 20% of your average service cost. So I'm paying around 20 cents a minute or 10 cents a minute. The girl who works for me full-time, she transcribes 100,000 words a week. So a full 8 hours of dictation a week. And then now I'm bringing on a full-time editor to take those words and finalize them. I have a good hiring process that I'm really excited about. What I find are people like me. I find expats who are from Western countries, but love surfing. And so pretty much everybody who works for me lives on a different surf island. They're either in Bali surfing or they're in Thailand surfing. And that way they're on the same wavelength as me. It allows me to be very agile without it being very expensive. When I looked at services like rev.com that are $1 a minute or $1.50 a minute, it would be prohibitive for the amount of content I generate. A lot of services charge more for transcription than it costs me to get a book written. I can get a book ghostwritten for less than I can get the same book transcribed. And it's the same thing for editors. When you pay editors per project, they gouge you. I had someone just offer to edit one of my books for $7,000. I immediately blocked her on Facebook and I blocked her on Skype. I was like, that's insane. Like, that's so much money. I'm going to spend $8,000 a week on editing. And you have to find people that are on the same wavelength. So when you work for me, you work during low tide, and then high tide you're out surfing. That's all my staff have that option. So I only track them once a week. So I run an environment. I'm like, look, you don't watch when I'm working and I won't watch when you're working. That's my deal. As long as your stuff's done at the end of the week, I'm happy. And I find people that are excited. When I put up an ad for a job, I usually get anywhere from 50 to 200 applicants. So I just put up the ad for a new editor 2 days ago, and I've already gotten 10 people that did sample edits. They're all really talented in different ways. So you find someone who is on your wavelength. You tell them what you're going to pay up front. It doesn't have to be expensive. And you could get a really good team that allows you to be more agile. I realized that because I'm really a control freak in some ways. And so for a while, I was like, I got to write it myself, edit myself, run through Grammarly myself, do everything so it doesn't lose my voice. But I've written so much, I can send a couple of books to an editor and say, this is what I want to sound like. Keep my voice. And in fact, a lady just emailed me and said, I read it. I realized you have a really conversational tone. So I didn't do an edit like I would on other books. I kept that conversational tone. And that's what I want. If you get too strong of an editor, it doesn't sound like
a benefit to having a lot of books out is that it saves you the explanation time of what you're looking for. If you just say, here, read this and read this. But look, this is great content. I was just kidding about cutting your mic. Love you, Jonathan. But in the interest of time, I want to to go around and have everybody share one really practical, actionable book launch and book marketing tip. And then we're going to bring this to a close, since time flies when you're having fun, and we've been at this over an hour. So I'll go first. Here's something I've done with Lifestyle Entrepreneur, my book. After the launch was over, I was like, how can I continue to sell books ongoing at full price? And what I realized was, if I give away anything free on the front end, whether it's a PDF or a checklist or an action guide, whatever it is that will have a high conversion rate that people take that free offer, then what I've done consistently is have the thank you page. So the very next page that people see after they opt in, have a short video where I say, hey, thanks so much for downloading X, Y, and Z. And before you go, here's an offer. If you pick up a copy of my book, Lifestyle Entrepreneur, and forward me the receipt, I'll give you a copy of my audio training course that's valued at $197. So I'm just paraphrasing that, but basically putting forth something of much higher value than the full price book that you get for free if you buy the full price book. So then we were consistently selling books at $8.99 on Kindle up to $15, $16 on paperback. People could buy any edition that they wanted, any format. And now they get a 6-hour audio training course, which really just gets them knowing me and my philosophy better, which of course leads to further work at higher price points, further ways that you can engage. So that's one strategy I've used, where I could promote and do ads to a free giveaway. And then on the thank you page, offer my full price book for sale in exchange for getting a higher value bonus. So that's my tip. Let's throw the hot potato to Tom and make our way around.
Yeah. So I'll move it to the front end when you're getting ready to launch. Somebody asked me this the other day. It was like, what's the one thing that will destroy a launch or destroy your chance at having a good release of your book? So people, and that's the whole point of a launch. It's not this overblown thing. It's you're releasing a book in a particular way, and you want a particular response. You want a lot of people to know about it, find it, buy it, read it, share it, etc. That's a launch, right? And I'd say the number one thing, if I couldn't do anything else, I would still put together an ambassador group or street team, or however you want to define this, but a group of people who would say, yes, I want to copy your book early and free, maybe, or probably free, right? And I'll read it, and I'll write an honest review, and I'll share it. And that's it. That to me is the thing that moves the needle in the biggest way possible, no matter what, more than anything else. And there's just because that's it. If you can get a good group of people who are sharing your book early and who are reading it and reviewing it, I mean, that sets the stage for everything else down the road. I would sacrifice all sorts of sales on the front end to get more reviews and more sharing early. But again, it comes down to what your strategies, what your goals are. But that would be my one big suggestion. If you could only do one thing, make sure you do that.
Thank you. Jennifer, you want to jump in?
Yeah. So my tip is probably something you wouldn't think, but for me has been the biggest shift. And that's having an I sell books mindset. So this would be especially true for newer authors who maybe either are just launching or have only launched 1 or 2 books. But you have to believe that you can sell books. So I think a lot of writers tend to have like a negative mindset around being able to sell books because we're told it's too hard and, you know, it's a lot of work and writers are poor and they're broke and all this stuff. So if you approach your marketing with that kind of a mindset, you're not going to go all in. You're not going to do everything that it takes. You're not going to step up and really be the author that you need to be to get the book out there and sell it. So for me, I had to see myself as a best-selling author before I could become one. And that's exactly what happened was I just started shifting my mindset. I started doing a daily mindset practice where every day I'm writing out intentional statements about what I want for my life and my writing and my book sales and all of that stuff. And then I'm actually doing the practical actions with that mindset of I sell books. I believe that I sell books. And so I've sold way more now because I have that mindset. So my tip would be start a daily mindset practice right now and just keep going and do it every single day for the rest of your life. And I swear to you, a year from now, you will be blown away at where you're at.
I love that. A mindset of I sell books. It's a great mindset to have.
Yeah.
I mean, I do sell books. That's my living. I'm going to do that mindset practice.
Yeah. Yeah. It works. It works for the beginners and for everyone who's already selling books.
Totally. And pays dividends over time for sure.
Yep.
Simon and Jesse?
Yeah, sure. I'll start. So mine's on the post-launch, just the sustainability, because a lot of people I know, a lot of people we talk to, we've worked with have trouble figuring out like, okay, so, you know, first figure out like why you wrote the book, what you want to do with the book, and what's the overall goal for your book. Obviously, if you want to become like a career author and put out a book all the time, do the practices that Jonathan's taught you here. What we come to find is that we work with a lot of entrepreneurs, coaches, consultants, small business owners, or people that want to break away from the corporate 9-to-5 and become writers and become entrepreneurs. And so they want to leverage their book in order to, you know, grow their business and grow their brand, much like Jesse Krieger helps out with Lifestyle Entrepreneurs Press. So when we talk about sustainability, we always talk about a few different things. One is try to match like who you are as a person and like your personality. The best way you like to get your message out there or interact with our audience, make sure you leverage what you're good at. So if you're good on video, maybe start a vlog or do a Facebook group with Facebook Lives. Start engaging that core group, you know, the people that have already bought your book or and the people that you're attracting on video. If you're want to keep writing, definitely utilize blogging. If you don't have a personal blog, even if you do have a personal blog, you should start blogging on Medium. Medium, I think, is one of the largest blogging sites in the world. And always on the Medium blog, you know, have backlinks to different appearances you've had or backlink to your book and have that constant rotation of people, bring people from your digital world to your book world and vice versa as well. So blogging's big. And then finally, one of the biggest things that we talk and tell everyone we should do is to look at podcasts and look at podcasting, look at guest podcasting. There is a number of great ways you can go about it. First and foremost, you should definitely start on like in iTunes and figure out, you know, what niche is your audience in? Who are you going to have the most effect on in terms of reaching a tribe that's going to hit its mark with your message? And so you start developing the relationship with those podcasters, and then don't just go in and ask to, you know, be on the podcast. Really explain to somebody why you're approaching them, why you think your message is gonna hit the mark with their audience on the podcast, what kind of bonus you can bring, and make sure they feel like it's not going to be infomercial when you're on the podcast itself. I see a lot of people doing, you know, having that problem and trying to turn any podcast they're on into an infomercial about themselves. It's not about you, remember, it's about your message and what you're bringing to their audience, the podcaster's audience. So those are the few ways post-launch that we always think about things, and make sure you find your authentic self in terms of whatever you're doing for sustainability, whether that's video or whatnot. Always look at blogging, no matter what, and podcasting as well. But first and foremost, concentrate what you're great at, and you can focus on the other things as you kind of go on down the line.
Wow, a 3-for-1 from Simon at Launch Team. Thanks there, buddy.
Yeah.
Jonathan, why don't we close the loop with you? Share a hot book marketing tip with everybody here.
Okay, I find that for most people, where they get stuck is their first book. After your second or third, you've got a rhythm. And finding a launch team or street team like Tom talked about, that's tough. So what I recommend to do, I'll give you a really specific example. You go to librarything.com. It's just like Goodreads, except for Amazon doesn't own it. They'll let you, as an independent author, run a contest where you can give away copies of your book to people that enter the contest, and you can choose how many copies to give away. And what I do is I'll give away, say, 25 to 100 copies of my ebook so I can deliver it instantly. And they give you the email address and mailing address of all the winners. And when people win, I send them all a copy of the book, and it says in the contest, you get a free copy in exchange for reviews. And people on there actually are the best reviewers you'll get. People on Goodreads, when they review you, I mean, some of them are harsh, but with this crowd, they take it really seriously. They'll review your book, and if they believe it's 3 stars or lower, they'll email you and tell you why. They won't leave the review. And otherwise, they'll give you a 4 or 5 star review. And it's a great way, if you have no following, no audience, to join a website where people love getting free books and has a really good contest vibe, and you get really, really good feedback. It's probably one of the best platforms I've ever dealt with. So you can get reviews, build a street team. After people leave all the reviews and read my book, I'll message them and say, are you interested in more free books and getting more and reviewing more of my stuff? And some of them say, oh no, I only do it for contests. This is what I do. I win the contest. They're very serious about it. And I totally respect that. And some of them say, yeah, I'd love to read more of your books. And so you can start to build your street team using this awesome website, librarything.com.
That's a hot tip. I haven't checked them out, but maybe Simon, you can drop that link into the chat, or I will after this. I want to say thank you very much to all of our panelists here. Let me switch to panel view for a moment as we start to wrap things up. Appreciated Jonathan, Jesse, Simon, Jennifer, Tom. Thanks so much for coming on, sharing your strategies, a lot of different approaches, a lot of great tips here for everybody on the summit. And there we have it. So thanks, everybody. You can wave goodbye. Everybody can see all of us right now. We're going to shut this down. Everybody, I hope you enjoyed this, this panel on book launch marketing. And I hope that you're enjoying the summit. I mean, we're only 2 days in, and oh my gosh, we've covered so much ground. Thank you to everybody that's already got your all access pass. If you haven't yet, be sure to pick up your VIP all access pass for Bestseller Summit Online. It's only $97, and you get $2,288 of bonuses, including lifetime access to all 30 interviews and the recordings from these live panels, not to mention the killer Facebook group, which if you're not in it, go join it, because there's a lot of interaction, a lot of meeting of the minds and author connections being made. So I encourage you to go to bestsellersummitonline.com/order to get your all access pass and continue to enjoy the summit. We've got 3 more action-packed days for you, and that's all we got for now. So thanks very much once again. We'll see you in a future interview and panel, and enjoy the summit. Bye.
Bye, guys.